In the heart of our cities, a population has been growing for nearly a century, lurking in the shadows. One of the most common mammals in Great Britain, there are more than 150,000 individuals in urban Britain alone. The red fox, or Vulpes vulpes, is distinguished from other fox species by its ability to quickly adapt to new environments. These animals are about the same size as a small dog and have become a daily sighting for Britain's urban dwellers. A fox's diet is extremely varied. They are omnivores, and although they can consume up to 300 different species of animals and plants, they mostly eat small rodents and birds. Urban foxes have also begun including human food scraps in their diet. Often seen rustling through trash, these animals are scavengers, searching for their food in unconventional ways. As these creatures become a more and more common sight to urban dwellers, some have started befriending and feeding them in their gardens and city parks. In an ongoing evolutionary effort to adapt to urban living, it's been found that fox populations in cities have developed shorter snouts and stronger but slower jaws. These allow them to better access their food, as shorter snouts and stronger jaws help them break into bins and containers more easily. As we retreat to our homes, foxes come out of their dens and begin hunting. A crepuscular species, the red fox is most active at dusk and dawn when they are most likely to be seen by passers-by. Foxes are social animals with strong familial ties, and although they are not monogamous creatures, dogs and vixens will collaborate to raise their cubs to ensure a healthy new generation. These young cubs are very active and playful. They are fighting amongst themselves to hone their hunting skills. The red fox is a territorial animal. An urban fox's territory usually spans 25 hectares, around 700 suburban gardens, and is structured like a jigsaw puzzle, with different families orchestrating their movements in a city space. Populations are self-regulating and quite stable, as numbers are limited by the amount of food and territory available. However, rapid crashes in population can happen, and are mostly caused by sarcoptic mange, which affects around 15% of the UK's fox population. As the red fox becomes a more and more common sight for those who inhabit our cities, human-fox interactions are increasing. Knowing how to safely interact is paramount to developing a good relationship with these urban dwellers. As the hustle and bustle of our daily lives quiets down, British urban dwellers' hidden neighbours emerge from their dens and begin their day. The red fox is a small mammal whose urban population has been growing for almost 100 years, alongside our cities themselves. A rural fox's favourite meal consists of small rodents and birds, rich in protein and nutrient dense. Alongside these, they will also forage fruits and berries from low-hanging branches and bushes. Its urban counterparts, however, eat a much more processed diet. As these mammals become a more common sight in cities around the country, their diet is shifting towards more anthropogenic foods, which they obtain by scavenging for food scraps in bins and sometimes directly from human hands, who are feeding them in and outside their homes. Finding that their garden or local park has been chosen as a fox's home, many people have started feeding these animals on a regular basis. Ensuring regular access to food for one's furtive neighbours might seem like an act of kindness, but as many people do not know what to feed these animals, their good intentions are often turned into negative consequences for the fox's health. Consuming increasingly processed and carbohydrate-heavy diets is causing urban fox populations to grow overweight and immunocompromised. Their unhealthy diet, coupled with a more dense population, results in increased probability for disease to spread. Sarcoptic mange is the most common disease amongst red foxes in the United Kingdom. This disease, which causes fur loss, irritation of the skin, open wounds and in some cases death, is easily identified on infected individuals. A mangy fox will start developing wounds around its tail, and the infection will then spread towards its head. As its exposed skin dries and becomes irritated, the fox will often scratch itself in an attempt to ease the discomfort. Rehabilitation is possible, but often made difficult by sick individuals fleeing from capture. Poor health is not the only consequence of urban foxes' newly anthropogenic diets. In less than 100 years, urban foxes have selectively evolved towards having a different skull morphology, which aids them in accessing their main food source in metropolitan environments. Shorter and wider snouts have been observed in urban foxes, likely showing evolutionary advantages. As an urban fox's diet consists mostly of static prey, left over by humans, a shorter, stronger snout will help them access containers and bins better than a longer, lighter, faster snapping mandible. And as their food is already dead, speed is not a factor to be taken into consideration. Another consequence of their urbanisation, foxes' brain cavities have been shown to be shrinking, suggesting the development of smaller brains. This trend follows what scientists call domestication syndrome, a series of behavioural and morphological changes that affect animals who are tamed by humans. Populations tend to develop smaller bodies, less aggressive behaviour, smaller brains and shorter snouts. As cities started expanding into their rural habitats, these small but clever mammals have been colonising our urban spaces since the 1930s, and their lifestyle and diets have greatly changed due to their interactions with humans. Good intentions are not always met by good results, and despite offering a respite from city life for us humans, interacting with wildlife in harmful ways has negatively impacted fox populations across the United Kingdom. So next time you see a fox in your local park, appreciate it from a distance. As night falls on our cities and towns, a hidden but ever-present population emerges from their dens and begins their day. The red fox first appeared in urban Britain in the 1930s, as cities expanded and suburbs took over previously rural areas. As these animals become a more common sight in our cities, many people have started feeding them in their gardens or in their local parks, creating a routine for the foxes upon which they rely for sustenance. Urban foxes were found to have a very precise schedule when it comes to their evening eating habits. Having memorised when and where they will get food, Many individuals are seen waiting to be fed, wanting to make sure that they are the first to get the food that's being left out. This exercise in memory and planning is one of the signs that for foxes, urban dwelling may have brought about increased intelligence. Urban foxes' ability to scavenge food from containers and bins suggests increased intellect and boldness. Individuals are more likely to take risks and explore unknown environments to access food in urban spaces. Overall, a natural selection for individuals who find it easier to adapt to their environment is likely to have positively affected the average intelligence of urban fox populations. Fox populations in the countryside are self-regulating, but they fluctuate as they depend on food and territory available. As urban foxes are regularly fed by their human neighbours, populations are very stable, due to food scarcity not playing a part in population size like it would in a rural environment. Still, population crashes can happen, and are mostly caused by sarcoptic mange, the disease that most commonly affects British red foxes. As foxes live in closer quarters in urban areas than they do in rural areas, mange is more common in cities. Efforts are made by wildlife rescue centres across the country to cure mangy individuals and nurse them back to health. This can be done by administering medication in a controlled environment to ensure the correct amount is consumed. However, this does come with its challenges, as removing a fox causes it to quickly lose part of its territory. It is always best practice to treat an animal within its territory, rather than taking it into temporary captivity, as it will struggle to reintegrate if removed even just for a few days. The media often portrays foxes negatively, accusing them of being threats to the safety of humans and pets. Despite this, most city dwellers like foxes, with 89% of people thinking that they enrich their lives and benefit the ecosystem. This simple tie to the natural world is paramount for an increasingly urban population to remember that we are part of nature and nature is a part of us. As interactions between wildlife and humans are bound to increase, with urban spaces taking over more and more once rural land, it's important to interact with these animals safely by keeping our distance and respecting them as wild creatures and not as pets there for our entertainment.